Hello. Today we're going to be going over how to modify your Zuru X-Shot Micro. Um, some of the things you'll notice I've already done to it, well, you'll notice those once we get inside the blaster. But for now, there's something I missed earlier. Uh, this band here snaps in on both sides. It's easy to get out with a small flathead screwdriver, but what I think is easier is to take a utility razor and place it inside the seam of the blaster and cut it in half very carefully. And never cut towards yourself. These are very sharp. I've got at least 3 scars on my body that are a testament to how sharp these blades are, whether they're used and dull or not. Now, through the magic of editing, I only have one screw to take out of this. Someday I'll get it out of here. And that one screw that I left is the one in this part of these 2 blue pieces of plastic on the back. I'll add this to the container of screws I have off to the side here. Container like this is an epoxy putty tube that's cut down and wrapped with E-tape because those tubes are kind of brittle, so that keeps it from falling apart. These are 2 separate pieces. You can leave them off when you put it back together, but you don't have to. And be careful when you take this out because there's a catch spring right here that's going to try to fly away and escape, basically. That's not held in very well. And once you get inside, it looks something like this. Crazy, right? You can put a dart in this far with this plunger tube to here. And this much of that plunger tube is functional. You'll notice I came in earlier and I hot glued the trigger spring in place so it didn't fly away on me. And I came in and I super glued the catch spring in place. Now this orange front part, it comes off kind of like a Maverick used to. And when you come into here, you'll see how it is that you can have a full-length barrel, or most of a full-length barrel, inside of the plunger tube. The barrel is inside of the plunger tube, and your plunger head, the plunger rod is hollow. Now what I've done before is I came in and I greased this up, and I added some E-tape here to add extra compression to the spring. And if you'll notice, there's a spring that fell out of here. It's not broken. This is what they've done instead of putting foam on the front of the plunger head, which they can't do because there's so little surface area that it would just tear right off of there. So they put a spring in here so that when your plunger head slams forward when you fire the blaster, it has that spring there to absorb the impact so that your plunger tube doesn't break down over time, which is a really smart design. And to get this off, the spring here isn't held in very well, so I can come in with this is like an ice pick that's in my screwdriver set, and you can come in, and if you haven't super glued yours into place like I have, you can push this pin out pretty easy. But I've done a pretty good job of super gluing that into place. That's not going anywhere. Well, let's put this guy back together. A couple of things you should notice is that this, with your plunger rod, you have a side that's tapered, that's the bottom, and a side that's at a 90-degree angle, that's the top. The catch groove is here. You're going to want to make sure you get your spring on this side of the spring rest. Remember that this goes in, this side goes into the side with the screw, the bottom half of the shell. There's a notch in that lines up with that. And you really want to make sure that this spring is on the correct side of the spring rest in here. And it will fit in like that. Put in your trigger. Adjust your catch so that your spring is inside of the blaster entirely. Grab the other half of your shell. Put her in there. Take your 2 blue halves. put them like this if you choose to put them back, and you would screw it down at this point. So now you're all done, and you've got this. Just kidding. This is my double micro. I took two of these and grafted them together to make a rifled X-Drop micro. You can see I've just hot glued the two shells together, and I've super glued and E-taped the two plunger heads together. Which is crazy, right? I haven't glued the spring in, so that's going to attempt to escape. And what I've done here is I've got a keyring trigger and some 1/2-inch PEX. You can use CPVC, but this stuff is lighter and more fun to work with. I've got a bit of some very thin wall. This stuff was over the twine that came on a Nerf gun that holds it into its card. And I've just taken the pin that normally holds its trigger in, and I've punched 2 holes into it, put the pin through it, and super glued over it, because before I super glued over the pin, it kept sliding out on one side. It kept trying to push out, and it would get hung up on the blaster when you shot it, and it would only shoot halfways. What we've got here is I cut down one of the springs from the two X-Shots that I stuck together, and then I've got them held together with the tubing and sewn up here to protect the head. And I've got Teflon tape under the O-ring, and it's re-greased, and it gets a 100% seal, I think. Either that or friction, and it's like a 99% seal. And then back here on the key ring, which likes to do that because of the shape of the holes in the PEX, is I've got some orange E-tape over some self-adherent foam that I just looped over it to help with that. And with both of these, something that's kind of important for ergonomics is you can see how there's that red spot on my thumb. That's from holding it, because these edges here are normally quite sharp, and I've filed and sanded those down. So, I'm going to put this off to the side. One more thing, the X-Shot Micro comes with darts like this, which have a rubber ring and then a foam dome on top, and they're comparable foam to a Busby sticky dart. I'm sure you can't see that very well, but it's a different foam, but you can tell because like they have the little pick marks in them from how they're formed, and these darts have much smaller ones, more like a Nerf Elite dart. Much smaller marks in them. And they seem well constructed. There's no hot glue, and you can't easily pull the components of it apart. So, they seem pretty durable and fun and safe. So, have a good day.